Started? All right. All good?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Another Saturday.
Another Saturday.
Another Saturday. Hello, everyone. This is Peter.
I'm Gary.
Yeah, we brought you another live stream. And this time, because the Chatswood display is actually under renovation at the moment, so we brought you this live stream directly from our WA office. It's a bit hot today, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I had to drag myself off the beach.
Sorry about that. Yeah, but summer is here.
Summer is very much here. Yeah.
Summer is very much here. So, you look at us all very nice in the suits, but we're very uncomfortable at the moment. Hopefully one day we can do this in the shorts and,
That's what I was saying.
slippers.
Just
in
kind
the,
of nice swimmers. Yeah.
the actual Aussie way,
Right.
So I think one big thing that happened this week is the release of the 2020 to 2021 budget.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's a
so
big noise.
yeah, so we're gonna spend a little bit more time to discuss that, in the later section. But obviously, as a tradition, we are going to talk about some big sales that recently happened in Sydney,
Yep.
and also some, market trends in terms of new section. So sorry, we're running a little bit late. Let no further ado. Let's get things started. First thing is, obviously, this is actually another property that we have. Sorry, the TV is here. This is another property that we actually took a few clients through, and then very fortunate, one of the Chinese family actually snatched it, and they were just exchanged yesterday. So, and another sale, private trading, no auction. It's supposed to go to auction on 24th of October, but it didn't. So, and it was sold for 12.8 million.
Good.
Yes, let's take a look at this house right here. Definitely, it's another good sale. This one is a bit different from the other one because recently we've been seeing a lot of sort of $20 million houses.
Yeah.
So now people say, 12.8 is cheap. I got people say, we're going to talk about a sale that's 8.5 million, 12.8 million. I said, really? So cheap? Not excited now.
Why'd you bother?
Why you bother? But it's a very good house. This is actually a very perfect example of a good renovation. Comes in good results, even though the property doesn't really come with any view, but it does have a beautiful pool. And then I think the owner spent a really significant amount of money to actually get this renovated. This is I think it was originally a 1920 sort of era home, and then the owner really put in a lot of time, efforts into making this a beautiful place for people to live in. It's got a pool. I think there's a little bit of is there a tennis court in there as well? Yeah, there we go. There's tennis. I remember there's tennis court in there as well. So as you can see, in Sydney, you're always gonna have opportunity to really have something come with that classy feel. How it's all classic, it's 1920, and represent a certain era of the time, and an era that almost never out of fashion. But on the other hand, the interior is very modern, very clean, very simple, but very elegant as well. And and that's why a lot of really a lot of Australian property has attracted many international buyers because we are in a very diversified cultural environment where even our houses are actually being well received by the international people. Going through a couple of things, like I said, it hasn't been due to go under hammer until the October 24th, but obviously there are a lot of interest and the several groups fighting over it, so it was sold pre-auction to the extraordinary prices at 12.8 million last night to a Chinese family. It looks like the Chinese buying power is very strong.
It's doing good, isn't it?
Yeah, very strong. The 95 million was Chinese. 24.8 or 24 million, that was Chinese. And then this one is also Chinese family. So it seems like there's a lot of really strong Chinese buyers now really snatching properties up in the eastern suburbs. You know, I actually had two of my friends call me today. One called me today, the other one called me yesterday. One of them saw a house as 8.05 million in the area sort of between Wash Bay and Vancouver. You know, something with a really beautiful view. Not very big house, but really nice sort of view, really nice sort of open living area. Another friend called me up and asked my advices on a property in Point Pepper, you know, old apartment, but she wanted something to be done to the property, obviously, and then just move from there. So it looks like, you know, there's a lot of Chinese activities now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another interesting thing is there's a couple of boys' schools and girls' schools in here, like Scots and Cranbrook. They actually had a very interesting statistic from the parents in this school and saying roughly back about eight years ago, there's only like 3-4 Chinese families, you know, in that school. The boys are studying in that school, and now there's 124.
Yeah, I know it's. No, I mean, we had a discussion about schools last week, and we said up the North Shore line, you know, just a plethora of really good schools, and that's what you get in the eastern suburbs, especially on the harbour's edge. Right. They're probably the two. I mean, a lot of people on the lower North Shore, you know, used to get private ferries. The schools run private ferries across, so the kids can come across. So it's obviously probably the top two areas, I'd say, for private schools. You know, the better private schools. Those two.
Yeah. So
you cover them both.
yeah, I'm actually.
Where the schools are is where the house prices.
Yeah,
that's certainly what's being found in Melbourne.
You know, even I'm thinking. I just spoken to my colleague yesterday, today as well. I'm thinking to move into the eastern suburb because, you know, every morning to jam myself in the traffic between the city, the William Street, the New Sussex Road, the Old Sussex Road, it's a bit of an awkward situation, you know, and you know, I had to, you know, drop him off at 8:30, which means I had to really get up about 7 o'clock, and then you know, be ready to get out of the door by 8 o'clock sharp in order to get him here at 8:30, and I only live in the city. So imagine, you know, if I live in any other suburbs, you know, and so
that's the only downside is that road.
That's right. Yeah. So you know, even I'm thinking about moving to the eastern suburbs. So hopefully, you know, one of the days this will be one of my own thing. Up here. So let's take another look. Staircase right by the entrance. Beautiful. You know, level block. People like it because it's really flat. Like it's a really level block. Whoever missed this, unfortunately, the other two clients that couldn't really make a decision really quickly, I felt really sorry for them because it's just very hard to find a very leveled house in the eastern suburb. Being, you know, the whole area is up and down.
It's like, well, that's inner Sydney, isn't it?
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah, and look at the house. It's really magnificent. I really like how it's coming out. See that little entrance and the back door. It's just really classy.
It is. I mean, you're right. It's very, very difficult to find a flat plot. When I first moved here from London and on the lower northern beaches, I couldn't find anything which was flat. Everything was slope.
I know. I know. Even I used to live in Mosman. Even in Mosman, it just
Mosman. Very much so. You know.
Yeah. The only so you know, I used to own a house in Mosman, roughly about 900 square meter land, and with the water view level block. Yeah. You know, when I sell that one, people just fighting over it. You know, that just So another sell. Let's see. Comcast cable executive Donna Strong and husband Mark Strong sells Bronte beachfront for around 8.5 million. So Bronte is not really double bay,
but it's still a delightful beach.
Yeah, it's a delightful beach. Private as well,
not too villagey atmosphere.
That's right. You know, reserve price we expected to be 7.3 million. You know, and then it was sold again before the auction. And then it was sold for 8.5. So it looks like. You know, it's been how many weeks now? 4 weeks now, isn't it? We start to have all these, so before auction get cut short, things get sold prior, and then way above reserve, like $1 million above reserve and all that. So this is all,
Like 4 to 5 weeks. It's certainly, I mean, look, everything's being sold quickly before auction, above reserve. You can just smell it's a boom market. And like we've said a few weeks ago, it's going to keep on going to Christmas, you guess?
Yeah, I think this year will be very special. I had a feeling that due to the whole COVID situation and the lockdown, the lockdown is pretty much moved between different states, but the lockdown internationally will probably still exist for a while. And with the tickets so expensive to go overseas at the moment as well, it just doesn't make any sense for people to travel long distance if they don't have to. So majority of people will probably be in Australia, and if they are, and then looks like house browsing is a very fun activity for a lot of people. At least from the number of inquiries I have generated recently, every week's open. It looks like the interest is very, very strong. And people are getting more and more ready. There's more and more first home buyers are now in the market. We had this little block in Epping, and last weekend we had 22 groups through, and this week we had about another 10. Third news. Now finally something in Melbourne.
Now they've stopped the restrictions. They can start selling houses. They'll be inundated, I would guess.
So it's like, what do you call it? A lot of people would follow what others do, but sometimes, do you know the guy Jack Ma? Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, the richest guy in China.
I don't know him, but
by reputation.
I know of him, yes.
By reputation. So, obviously, he always said, if everybody is doing it, I'm not doing it. I'm only doing the 10% that people are doing, and then that's how he makes his money and wealth. And the same thing in Melbourne. When the prices really fall down, people worry about not to be able to see it and this and that. And then now, when the market start to resume, open home, open house start happening, people start to pay more. So that's what's happening. It's a lifting from 2 months. I think about 8-9 weeks now since Melbourne in lockdown, isn't it?
That's a long time, isn't it? You can't go out and everything goes.
The restriction lifted immediately. There's 24.5% rise in the high intent buyer activity on all the major real estate websites. So it looks like they are really, people are really trying to buy something now. There you go. What do you mean? My phone, don't worry about it. There you go. Agents said it translated to their phones blowing up with calls from people wanting to book one-on-one property inspections and appraisals. Not only there's gonna be a lot of buying activities, I reckon there will be some selling activities as well. Recently I've got calls and messages from many of my previous buyers who owns multiple homes, and a lot of people would want to think to actually either merge their investment into a bigger, better one for themselves to live in, or just to cut off some of the investment and liquidate some cash and put it into other investment or offset accounts. So it looks like this is happening again in the current times, and it will probably keep going for another few months into Christmas.
I think it'll definitely go to Christmas. Always does.
And
normally sort of tapers off sort of early December because you get a few around that time. But most people like to actually buy and then get in before Christmas. The priority is obviously people want to get where they want to go for the schools for the end of January. That's the thing. They can bed down the house, get the kids ready for their new schools or whatever.
That's right. And by looking at this. There's one real estate agency has run a whooping 471 inspections in the week they resumed across only 3 offices. 471 inspections. That's something. That's something. On the top end of the market, The Key and Burton director Michael Gibson reported a good number of buyers seeking properties priced between $15 to $30 million. Yeah, well, for Sydney, it's probably not the high end of the high end, but for Melbourne, 15 to 30 million is actually a lot of money. Because realistically, some of the big houses in Melbourne are not being sold for this price unless in areas like Toorak.
Yeah, so Toorak's a big
place, yeah. So. And then if it's $20 million home in Toorak, that's really, really, luxury already. So we can see this is another listing they had in Toorak, $25 million. Sold for $25 million in September.
All right.
Quietly. So this is sold quietly for about $25 million in September. So it looks like people are trying to, first of all, from all the activities, all the news we see, we can see there's a lot of people with really significant amount of budget to buy homes. Another thing is, they're trying to get them as quick as possible, as quietly as possible, and trying to close off the deal before the auction.
Yeah.
After what happened 2 weeks ago.
People, you turn up an auction, only one person's going to win. So
that's right. Yeah, and it only takes two persons who really wanted it to get the prices over the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe $10 million more above reserve. There we go. So, Melbourne's coming back, and looks like the number is good. I reckon compared to the bottom prices Melbourne has experienced, and then the top prices Melbourne has experienced, there may be a double-digit gap that could happen in certain areas. Not across the board, but in certain areas, that would be good. Like, how in Sydney last week we have seen, in Strathfield, the house price increased by 24% or something. That's 24%, in just a few short months. All right. State government, next news. State government asked for assurance no changes will be made to tenancy laws. Yeah, so tenancy is a big thing for Sydney and for all across Australia. And I think it makes sense for state government to ask for assurance no changes will be made to tenancy laws, because this would, and we'll read this one together with the other news, which is where to nab the best city rental deals during COVID-19.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I think without any changes, people now can really start to move into, their home. There's two different groups of people. First group of people are the buyers who's trying to move in who's trying to buy something, settle before Christmas, they can move in around that time. And there's also renters who's trying to take advantage of the low rent, because once the border is open, once everything is open, travel starts resuming. Looks like the low rent period will come to
with Airbnbs, you mean?
Yeah, all Airbnbs and low rental prices will come to an end very shortly. Yeah, because now obviously you can see there's a lot of vacancy has been occupied already. Today we're in the city, and then a couple of rental places where before the renter are very, it was more like a renter's market, and the owner had to drop the prices again and again. Now we see, the spread prices start to get a little bit more steady.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit more steady. So as you can see, we had a table here. This is a search activities. It's not a price activity, it's a search activity. And it looks like, areas like Bockham Hills, Kogarah, Leichhardt, Botany, eastern suburbs, north, which is where we are now, are being, there's a lot of people actually searching properties to rent. Yeah, so there you go. So Sydney, no New South Wales rental market shows drops in views per listing between April and August. Trending Leichhardt in Sydney's in the West received the third smallest increase in interest from property sentiment, which is 8.5% growth. A lot of people are looking for places that for themselves to move in while taking advantage of the last sort of cheap rent options. You know, this place is rented out for $1,000 a week. Small sort of duplex townhouse-ish thing. There you go. Brisbane looks like the increase is all over the board. And then with what's going to happen, with the restriction being lifted more and more on COVID, you know, I reckon, you know, the crazy market and all the big changes will really come to the end. Really come to the end. All right, so that wraps up for the news article for this week. Let's move into Australian real estate news weekly highlight. Second part, which is what a lot of people are really interested in. You know, the budget. You know, so we're going to talk about what are the key sort of 2020 to 21 federal budget measures, and then how the federal budget will impact Australia's property market, followed by what inspired us this week, or me this week, and the property of the week. So before we're doing a lot of sales of the week, so things that we have sold for, how much it is, we got a lot of inquiries coming from our audiences saying, so Pete, I really want to know what are you actually selling rather than what you already sold. You know, so we're gonna put just one property in and every week.
Property of the week.
Yeah, one project. So I'm just gonna, you know, show you exactly what we're doing. Okay, I think you'll be very interested in this topic as well. I'll quickly go through some numbers. This is what
the tax cut.
Yeah, the budget has budget measures. It's not we're not going to go into much details. Gary had a really good opinion on this one, but we just got to give a quick update about what has happened. So in terms of numbers, it goes into different sections. Three biggest thing I think is really about helping the business, helping the tax, and also a little bit more incentives on the building industry or the real estate industry. Yeah. So the first thing is this additional $17.8 billion tax cut. Yeah. Which on average, everyone is gonna save around what, a few $1,000s on the tax cut.
Could be quite a bit. I think depends on it starts very much at the top, comes down to around about, I think it's about 100 grand or somewhere like that. So it's very much aimed at, they say, at rectifying the, what they call the brackets. So as you say, these brackets. And they thought that basically over time, those on the top scale of income, that is, had, you know, been, it favoured the lower paid people. So their argument is they're realigning that, although, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, it's probably not a good thing to do in a stimulatory budget when you actually want people to go off and spend the money, because what happens when you aiming at the higher paid people is they put it into assets, you know, save it basically. So, but I mean, from a property perspective, it means it will create more, or people will be able to borrow more, which means they'll be able to push up prices. It'll certainly put help to put a base under prices to make sure they don't come down. Although the real question is, when do you get the money? I mean, I don't think we get it straight away. It doesn't reflect in your pay packet. It's going to be at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be end of the year. Oh, well, it was backdated to the 1st of July for the personal income
for this
taxes.
Year,
but it's for this
next year.
Yeah, it's for this one, and people get it next year.
Yeah.
Or pay less.
Or pay less.
Yeah,
next year.
Next
That's
year.
right.
Yeah. There's a tax relief for businesses totaling about $26.7 billion. This is really, I think they're going to try to help the businesses. One little thing that's very interesting is a job maker hiring credit, which is something that I've seen in the current sort of hiring environment, where you know, the government is issuing a credit to the business to hire people, or hire younger people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have up to about $200 credit for hiring people under 30, and up to about $100 credit for hiring people up to age of 35.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, but they've got to do a minimum of 20 hours, I think it is.
Yeah, yeah.
So to try and stop people from.
And I think they're gonna combine this with the other one. Job Maker is a hiring credit, and they need to hire the people who's currently on job seeker or something. Yeah. So it's the young people have job seeker means they need to pay their rent, and then they just wanted the young people to actually get paid a bit more to stabilize the rental market and get themselves more stabilized. Well, that's one.
I don't know. I mean, they've got three things. One is obviously the apprentices, etc. They've got this job $200 a week, and they've also got things like, which affects the property industry, is that for young people, for first-time home buyers, they're putting the limit up. They're putting more money into that scheme to give stamp duty relief, and putting the franchise up from 700 and some odd up to, I think it's 950. It's gone up, which will encourage more first-time home buyers to get into the marketplace.
That's right.
Obviously underpin some of the new developments, especially those out west, and put a floor under property prices.
We'll talk a bit more about the expansion of first home loan deposit schemes at a later section as well. But obviously the help comes in many ways. The budget is really sort of just extension about what they already been doing, what stimulus they already been doing and brought out to the market, except for a more security on the first home loan deposit scheme, which means people now can really buy their first home with only as little as 5% deposit. And in addition, they have increases the cap for the first home buyer, so that people can now buy more expensive properties.
Well, they could anyway, but they just don't get the stamp duty relief.
That's right. That's right. Or the 5% before, if they want to apply for the 5% scheme, they need to buy property under a certain amount of money in order to qualify for that. Apart from the stamp duty thing, this is a separate thing. But now, I think they have increased that gap to about 950,000 for New South Wales property, and then 600,000 for Brisbane property. And 750 for the Victorian property.
Yeah, well, it was a bit low. I mean, what it meant is that people in certain areas of Sydney, they could buy a property, but they didn't get the full. They still had to pay stamp duty. They didn't get the full discount because, I mean, someone like my son, he bought one, and
Toby.
No, not Toby. He'd already gone, but Oliver, little son, and the trouble is in the northern beaches, everything was he had to pay more than what the limit was, so he didn't get the full stamp duty relief that otherwise. But now he would be able to at 950. So he bought 770, 771. So he missed out, not by a lot though.
Not bad.
But but that's basically. But it's good. I mean, prices have gone up since, so it's good that they've gone to 950. It means that other areas will get stimulated, and hopefully we'll get a whole load. I mean, we know that first-time buyer percentage-wise is going back up. It used to be high, then it took a big dip over the last 10, 15 years. Now it's coming back up again, which is great. It's good for the country if a lot of the people own their own homes.
That's right. That's right. There's also there's $1.2 billion to help business employ new apprentices or new trainees. And these two, the Job Maker hiring credit and the $1.2 billion to help business employ new apprentices and trainees, are really trying to help, from my perspective, the younger generations.
Yeah, they're the three items of first-time buyer grants, wage subsidies, which we discussed, and again the more apprenticeships, get more training going. They're the three things for young people, which is good.
Which is good. It's really.
It's good if you're not, unless you're over 35.
It's too late for me. Too late for me. I can only take advantage of the job maker, not the job seeker anymore. Once you're out of job, that's it for you, right?
Yeah.
And then the expansion of the first home loan deposit scheme, which we'll talk a bit more in the next section. This is a direct impact. Like the other ones, tax cuts will help the market in an indirect way. The expansion of the first home loans deposit scheme and the other incentives will be helping, obviously the property market in a very direct way. Yeah. And the last thing is just the additional $1 billion in low-cost finance to support the construction of affordable housing.
Yeah, that's to the the community housing providers. So they're the people who can borrow the money off government institute based in Pitt Street.
That's right.
At good rates.
Yeah, so these are the key measures. And then in terms of how it impacts the market, we'll have it here. How the federal budget will impact Australian property market will probably be something people are more interested in. The numbers are good, but what those numbers really mean, come back to us the discussion today. I really appreciate the email you sent me earlier today as well. Yeah. I've gone through that and then I had a quick look. I think at the end of the day, the first conclusion we can draw is that property industry will definitely expect a boost. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be, as I said last week, it's very important to the government that they support the construction industry and the property industry because 25% of the workforce is involved in that sector and they don't want it to fall off a cliff, the construction especially, which is typically what happens in the boom and bust cycles. In the bust, all the building workers, a lot of them get laid off and then of course they lose the skills, they move on, find other jobs. And then we've got this massive problem of having to train people up again. So if you can try and level it out, that's great. But we'll see whether we can. The other thing, which is not in the budget, but it came out of the budget papers, is that because basically we were existing on immigration. We had 170 some odd thousand the last year in immigration, well, that's net positive immigration, and that's now been cut to zero, obviously, in fact negative, because of COVID, and that's due to last at least till the end of next year. So New South Wales is going to have, the population of New South Wales, I reckon, is going to go down by 2,000, which is nothing, you won't notice that. But the real issue is that they reckon that by 2 years' time, we will be about 460,000 people less than originally planned for. Now, what that means in terms of the housing market, construction market, and the planning, I haven't really put my brain around that yet, but it certainly is going to take a hit. But on the other hand, if people are concerned about starting construction of apartments and blocks, etc., as normally does happen when you hit a recession like this, it goes down, the amount of construction goes down. That's good in some ways because that'll naturally offset. And then they reckon that and this is where I couldn't work out, the document I was reading had I think a typo, but by about 2022, 2023, things get back up again, it starts to pump again. But that all is predicated on us getting a vaccine by, say, the middle of next year, so that by the end of next year, most Aussies are injected, and obviously we're not going to allow people in, or I doubt we'll allow people in until we've all got injected, and the people who are coming in have been vaccinated as well, I would guess. Just like if you're in somewhere else, they won't want us to come over there if we haven't been vaccinated. So that's the key thing, is getting that sorted.
But the problem with the vaccine, we actually had this discussion over the breakfast this morning about,
how effective,
if you
how
only
long it will
have
last.
if you only have a vaccine that was developed for, let's just say if you have a vaccine now, people wouldn't really, well, I think it will have a lot of resistance from people actually taking it because it didn't have long enough human trial on it, so you can't really see the side effects on that.
Yeah, well,
you know,
I mean,
for
some people will not want to take it, that's for sure. Some people,
right.
I think, will just
that's right.
get on with it.
And then you know, obviously, you know, even with the vaccine, you know, developed until everyone is injected and whoever's get it, and then there's absolutely safe. There's no side effect because vaccine is basically just a small proportion of the virus. You know, so you know, injecting your body to create for yourself to create a natural
Antibodies,
sort of antivirus in your body in order to immune to it. But what side effects it will have? You know, like all these vaccines. You know, we still haven't got a vaccine for SARS, which has happened in what year 2008, 2008. You know, so that's like what 12 years ago, and we still haven't got that. So to rely on vaccine, it's just maybe we had to consider the factor that you know we had to rely something without.
Well, I mean, it depends if they regulate it. If you know, if you want to go to China, for instance, and China says, well, we won't allow you in unless you've got the vaccine, then
of course
that's the incentive to get it, and that's the kind of thing I think that will happen. And vice versa. You know, if Australia turns around to people and say, well, you can't come in unless you've had a vaccine, then a lot of people will take it, but some people won't. You can guarantee that. But we'll see.
We'll see.
You know, it's all a bit of the unknown, isn't it?
Second thing is first home buyer scheme expanded. I look at the content. They have added another 10,000 spaces for you know the deposit scheme that relates to the first home buyer. You know, where people can use 5% down payment. They have also really redirected all the direction into new homes. So it looks like existing home or second-hand property will probably not going to be the government's incentive direction.
Well,
it's all about
they're
new
trying
homes.
to stimulate new homes, construction jobs. That's what it's about.
Yeah, new homes, constructions. They want all those DA that got approved, built. You know, so that whatever the plan is, that will be executed. At the moment, even if the government, just when COVID happened, a lot of the council has released a very easy process or speed up the approval for the DAs as well.
Not me.
Is that your phone?
Oh, it is. I thought I turned it off. I turned it off. Hold on.
Yep, no problem.
A
little bit of a, you know, intersection.
Drama.
You know, a little bit drama, a little intersection. You know, a little bit of Boston break. All right, coming back to this. So first home buyer scheme, more spaces for sure, and then doesn't mean there's more money, but you know, the cap has been raised, like just discussed as well as a more streamlined process, and this will be in combination with the bank's relaxed on borrowing policy last week, which we are expecting to see it in real action very soon, to really help you know, the property market. Third thing is this is focused on young workers. So I really think that first home buyer, sort of young investor, that sector will get, you know, a really good boost because people now are more secure on the job because, you know, obviously it's like the government is paying a proportion of the salary as well. Like if you're getting, you know, obviously $200 a week from the government through the job maker. That means if you're paying someone, let's say $900 a week, you're paying them now $700 a week, and the government is paying $200.
Yeah.
So that will be
It's an
something.
incentive to employ people, isn't it? That's the reason.
And this will stabilize their income, has stabilized their directions into either the rental market, they're making sure that there's no all the rent that you know, there's no more not paying rent, there's no more delaying rent, and you get everyone more focused on paying the rent on time, plus obviously more information on and help a lot of people saving up to get their home.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
Not on the beer, but on the not on the pub, but on the home. Right?
Yeah. I think.
Number 4, finance measures for affordable housing.
Yeah.
So finance measures for affordable.
Well, that was what you discussed before, where they're giving NIFTA, what it themselves, extra $1 billion.
That's right.
So.
That's right. And then obviously a missed opportunity on social housing. That's what can you say? It's one thing that hasn't been put in here is the infrastructure. Which I think we need to talk a little bit more as well. Sorry, I hadn't put it on the slide, but with the infrastructure the government is putting in, it looks like it hasn't been really slowed down at all.
I think the initiatives they said was young people, businesses, which we've discussed, and then state infrastructure. So they're obviously giving the money to the states to build more roads, railway lines, whatever it is, and then focusing on manufacturing and R&D, which I think is the other thing, which they obviously want to get manufacturing going again over here. We've gone through this terrible supply chain shock, and I think a lot of people are worldwide are saying, look, let's make sure that we're not totally so reliant on importing everything. So that if we get another COVID or something, we're not completely crippled. Sure.
Yeah, because now the world economy after so many years are so reliant on each other. But this COVID, well, it's good and bad. The communication-wise is getting better, but on the other hand, really, it's sort of stepped back a little bit because it stopped a lot of trades, and then a lot of people are going back to, manufacture. All sort of different things themselves. We'll see the effects. It will come out in a few years' time. Maybe not now, but it'll come out in a few years' time.
But I mean, the reality is a lot of the westernized countries, the older countries, they'd all become totally service economies and had ceased manufacturing, or very much so manufacturing was going down. And I think you'll see now it's probably gone up too far and it's going to be pushed back a little bit the other way. It will never get back to what it was before.
No.
And they can't compete with the labour markets in Southeast Asia. So, but even, places like China now, that a lot of companies move out of China, and they were happening before COVID, where they're moving out because their labour market had become relatively expensive. So people were going to Vietnam and other areas to try and find cheaper labour. So there we go. It'd be interesting to see how they do it. If they can do it. And obviously, the thing is to aim at certain, probably high-tech type of environments, rather than try and build make phones. I mean, that's pretty high-tech, but I think that there's no point. We never be able to do that over here. We just haven't got the market. That's the problem in Australia.
No.
We've got to find something which is a niche type of thing, which we can use ourselves and export.
Yep. Last thing is waiting on home builder extension. Like I said, in the new budget release, there's not many direct, impact on the property market, except for mainly the things around the first home buyers. But obviously, home builder grant has been giving a really good boost for the house land market across Australia, basically. And they say it's going to be stopped in December this year. But I had a feeling it has been so successful, it will get carried on and then being granted a little bit of extension, even though it's not being said in the budget directly saying we are going to extend it, but looks like it's going to be extended in a different way as well. And that means for Australia, there are going to be more and more people buying their first homes in a more remote area, in a more distant area, to take advantage of this particular grant. But on the same time, those infrastructure was supporting it around, transportations and all that. So more and more mini towns will happen, and then that house, and that really house and land market is going to receive a really good boom.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
Pardon?
Anything to add?
Not on the federal budget, no.
All right, cool.
I went through the American numbers earlier today, but it's not looking too good. They still haven't agreed a stimulus package.
Oh, really?
So, and even if they do, they're preciously short of time now to get it through before the election. Election's on November the 3rd. Someone was saying that it takes about 2 weeks. Even if they've got an agreed package, it normally takes about 2 weeks to get it through. The various houses of parliament they have to do. So it's not looking too good, which is disastrous in terms of demand and people being thrown out of their houses. The worry then is that you won't get a result in the election on November the 3rd, is what people are saying, is because so many people are intending to cast their vote by mail because of COVID, that it's going to take time to count those votes. And then obviously if one of the sides either start throwing, disputing it and going to court, which it happens in American elections, it could take several months before we get a result. But going through, but going through it, I mean, you've got services which rebounded after the crash. That rebound is slowing down. Exports are slowing down. The recovery looks like the recovery could be running out of steam. Having said that, the Dow Jones Transport Index has bounced, which is normally something which shows, that if people are hiring trucks and sending things around on trucks, that's good, obviously. But job ads are dropping, and so consumer credit demand is dropping, which is the big one. I mean, most of these are August figures, okay, because that's what they're just reporting on. And then, that really indicates that interest rates look like they're going to take a fall over there. So that will probably be reflected on us. The Reserve Bank didn't lower the interest rates over here on Tuesday, but thought process is they probably will in November.
Yeah.
But mind you, it'll only go from 0.25 to whatever it is, wafer thin, I'm afraid. Otherwise, it'll be a negative interest rate soon.
All right. Moving on. So this is just a brief chat about the budget. There's actually a lot more in this year's. There's tons of information in this one. We probably, if we have enough demand, we're probably gonna do a 1 hour special particular just on the budget to go through some more details on different things, how it was given, who can apply for it, who might be qualified for what sort of incentives, what stimulus that's gonna be coming soon, potentially, all of that. So if you want to get more information on this one, make sure you comment, and then we're more than happy to do a more roundtable discussion around that. Moving on. What's happening, what motivated me this week. So first of all, we're really talking about the company is going under a new forming structure very soon, and then we are going to look forward for something very different very shortly, and then which caused me to think a lot more about what happened and then what's going on in the future. So the first thing, which is by one of my favorite guy, the guy that really created a lot of really magnificent cars, and General Motors, Charles Kettering. So he said, you can't have a better tomorrow if you are still thinking about yesterday. So and I think that gives a lot more to this year as well. There's there's a talk show, a very famous talk show in China, which I've recently been watching, and they said at the end of the year, every year they had this function to this event to welcome the new year, and this year they're gonna do a reverse one, saying, just get the hell out of here, 2020. Yeah, so you can't have a better tomorrow if you're still thinking about yesterday. And then Dr. Seuss, don't cry because it's over, smell because it happened.
Oh, okay.
I really love it. I love that saying. And it's like, I think last week when we finished the live stream, we had a little bit chat, and you said, whatever that happened, just give it time, and then eventually it will just become not that important.
Well, it will.
And some of them that you think is painful and almost killing you now, a few years later, you find out it just a laugh.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look back on it and just think, oh well, it's just another blip in the highway of life.
That's right.
But as I keep saying to people, if you go back to the 1920s, they finished a world war in 1918 with millions and millions of deaths. They then got the Spanish flu, which wiped out far more people than the World War One, and that's, compared to what we've been through, it's huge numbers.
Huge numbers.
And, and that took them into 2021, and then they managed to recalibrate, and then they got the Roaring Twenties. So
that's right.
It's not like it's the end of the world. No. I think next year will be difficult. The reason I said about those American numbers is I don't think we've had the recession that was going to come anyway. And a recession normally comes about a year after a stock market crash. So I think that's still going to come about. But coming out the other side at the end of next year, I think it'll come out. And you go into these things, you come out the other side.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So that first one's very good.
Yeah, I really love that one. All right. So based on demand, we now have the property of the week. This one is a 2-bedroom apartment that we currently for list in Darling Harbour. In a project called Darling Square. It's one of the latest development by Lendlease. It's a very new suburb. The property has been finished for just a bit over a year. Majority of the apartments in there are in between sort of 1.8 to about 2.3 million in that range. We had a price leader in the market. We're a 2-bedroom with a car space, adaptable unit, so it's got a huge car space on selling for and a private treaty for only about 1.29 million to 1.35 million as a price indication. So I really think it's a good buy. It will be a very nice, quiet and comfortable city path for you. And not really looking onto the street, it's looking onto a very quiet sort of a pedestrian walkway. And then, it's got reasonable size as a 2-bed 1-bath, over 80 square meter. And the car space is the best car space in the whole building. It's huge. It's almost like the size of 2 car spaces, almost. Yeah. So if you are interested in the property, look up the address in Google, 201/82 Hay Street, Haymarket. You'll see our ad on real estate and domain, and you can contact us or come to the open inspection. All right. That's it for this week. 5:30 every Saturday. We'll see you here.
Except for today.
Saturday. I feel like a Sunday, is it? Because
it does, isn't it?
Yeah, because we had Monday off. So but anyway, 5:30 every Saturday. We're gonna see you, and recap the whole news and article of this week and what we've been doing, and talk about some hot topics. So this is Peter.
Gary.
Yeah,
we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
All good? Yeah, my smile is frozen in here.